Hello, welcome to Disenthrall. Today we have a new special guest, Yos, but also, as usual, we have Kaysen in studio with us.
Hey, everybody, and there is the Yos.
Tell us about Yos.
Well, I met him online in the FDR Euro group. Is that right, Yos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
About a year ago.
Yeah, about a year ago, before the just before the whole Trump train started going completely derailed.
So there are very few people in this world that I can have these late night, long form, 6-hour philosophical debate discussions with, and Yos is one of them. It has happened. He's in the Netherlands, so I guess it wasn't as much of an extreme thing for him to be up that late. But I was up to like 5 or 6 a.m. and great conversations with him.
And right now, he's not even in the Netherlands. You're out in the Ukraine, right?
Ukraine? Oh, okay.
Yes, I am.
It's a magical land.
I'm all
We
over
are
the
international.
We're all over the world.
So Yos has some great topics for conversation, and I'd like to just kick it over to him to get us started.
What you got, Yos?
All right, the first topic I actually wanted to bring up was that political views should not be terminated within a friendship. I actually believe the opposite. I believe that relationships with clashing values should not be continued. And I don't mean that if my friend has a different opinion of my favorite band, I will never see him again. I mean that if he has if he has very different ideas about ethics, and I continue to be friends with him, I am holding a position that ethics are not important to me. But if ethics are important to me, and I continue a relationship with a person with differing views, this relationship is a very shallow one at best, and still means I do not actually care about ethics all that much. You do not stay friends with someone when you find out he's a convicted child rapist. If you agree with that, you agree that at least sometimes friendships or relationships should not be continued. But when should or shouldn't they? That is up to the individual. But the implications are not. The implications are determined by which choices the individual makes. Say that I'm friends with a person who loves jazz music, and I can't stand it at all, but I'm willing to stay friends with that person for other reasons or other values. If it turns out that a friend does not like my favorite music genre, telling him that he should not be friends with me for that reason would be a contradiction to my own position, since I tolerate his favorite music genre. If it is my opinion that one should not stay friends with someone if there is a different taste in music, then I should not have been friends with that person from the start, or continue to be friends with him when I find out. If I do, it just means that my own values are not important to me, and that is in itself a contradiction. Values, by definition, are valued by the individual holding them. Now, if that friend is also a convicted child rapist, and I continue to stay friends with this person, I am showing to myself and the world that I do not oppose people who commit this kind of evil. If I am against child rape, or rape in general, I cannot hold the opposition against child rape and be friends with this person at the same time, because one position contradicts the other. I cannot say that language is meaningless and use language to back up that statement. Therefore, I believe that difference in values and ethics should be a reason to terminate a friendship.
So, I don't know quite what's happening right now.
I'm devil's advocate around here. So that's just your ethics. That's not my ethics. So we can all have separate ideas of what's right and wrong. And if we just unfriend everybody that doesn't agree with us, then we don't have any friends, because everybody gets their own right and wrong, right?
Absolutely, yes.
You'd have no friends.
Mm-hmm. But I would have my values.
He just called my bluff. What do I do now?
Well, so, I mean, I think that if somebody goes out and they make friends with somebody that is immoral or advocating immoral things that they're trying to do, such as, you know, hey, I want to aggress against peaceful people who are trying to cross a specific imaginary line in the sand, that would be an immoral thing to be friends with. It's an immoral thing. Like, you kind of are tainted by that at that point. Is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah.
Well, the only caveat I would have is, I mean, it's good that we stand up for our ethics. The only caveat is the missionary story, right? Where the Catholic missionaries go to Africa and start telling people about the one true faith, Catholicism, and how if they don't do X, Y, and Z according to this faith, they're going to hell. To which the people living there responded, well, what would have happened before you told us this stuff? And the Catholic priest was like, well, you would have gone to heaven or purgatory because you didn't know. You didn't have the knowledge yet. So the community leader was like, well, then why the hell are you telling us? Because we were fine before you got here. So I think that's the same principle that, you can't just ostracize friends immediately. You have to at least, tell them about ethics and tell them why what they're advocating is evil or immoral, and give them the opportunity to agree or disagree or debate you, or expose them to the truth before judging them for being wrong. I could have said that a lot faster. What do you think about that?
But for how long? But for how long are you supposed to expose people to the truth? Because like some of this stuff from first principles, it's like, do I have the right to initiate force against somebody to take resources for aims that I think are socially acceptable? Well, no, I can reason that from first principles. So do we accept that?
I think that's a subjective answer. It depends on the friend in question, maybe their level of intelligence, maybe their level of indoctrination. Your level of patience, how much they mean to you, how strong the relationship is in the beginning.
I would agree that, of course, you shouldn't terminate the friendship right away, as long as it's not too important. If the person, of course, is a rapist, you do it right away. If the person just has different values, you try to convince the person, because the person is your friend. The person might be family. Maybe a good example is when you're a child and your parents try to teach you to eat new kinds of food. You don't say that you don't like the food right away. You first try it, and maybe try it again sometime, and then you'll find out if you really like it. And I think the same should be done with friends. First, you tell them about your values, give them some time to mold it over, to think about it, and after that, if they still don't agree with it, if they still can't accept you for the values you have, you don't have to stay friends with them. Just take some time.
Well, then at that point, you can literally terminate the relationship.
God.
And only the relationship, not the friend.
Wait, you can't terminate the friend?
Give me devil's advocate back.
No.
Okay, fine. Here you go.
I think it's important that we have the courage of our convictions. I'd also suggest that in really important or strong familial relationships, you take time, take it slow, make sure that, make sure you're right. Make sure you have the correct positions before you go burning bridges, right?
And of course, be open that you could be wrong also. Be open that the other person could change your mind, that you might be the one who's wrong.
What other wisdom do you have to spray upon us, Yos? Bless us.
There's a follow-up on this part.
What's going through your mind right now, Patrick?
Welcome to the show, Yos.
Quality.
Thank you.
Quality entertainment, everybody.
Cool.
There's a second part to this.
Yeah, bring it on.
Oh.
What do you got?
Very often you hear people say you have to respect everyone's beliefs. I also oppose this for the same reason, that you don't have to respect everyone's beliefs, but you should respect everyone's right to their own beliefs or opinions. This also means you don't have to be friends with every single person. If it means that you do have to respect everyone's beliefs, you're saying that you have to be friends with the child rapist. And I don't think anyone would agree with that.
I would not. I would not agree with that.
Good.
Yeah,
That's why we're friends.
So far, so good.
Respect is one of those things that if you give it to everyone, you're actually giving it to no one. If everyone is
It means
respected,
nothing then, yes.
then no one is really actually respected. Everyone's just there, right? It's like if you love everyone in the world, like some hippies try and do, then no one is loved. Love becomes meaningless if you apply it to everyone. Same thing for respect. Yeah,
if everyone had 100 million Bitcoin, it wouldn't value. There would be no value to it anymore.
Oh, I can dream.
I'm dreaming of the Lambos right now.
Yeah,
the Lambos, do it for the Lambos.
If everyone had 100 million Bitcoin, it wouldn't be valued at a Lambo anymore. I don't think so.
That's true. That's true. But I can dream. At any rate, what I was going to mention is just like inside of Atlas Shrugged, there's this section. I think it's in John Galt's speech on the radio. Spoiler alert if you haven't listened to it. She's been dead over 3 decades. But, I just listened to it recently.
I just finished it as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It takes 3 decades.
Yeah, well, it took her a decade to write.
It took me 2 days.
It takes us forever to get around to it. But I have now read the Anarchist Bible, or whatever the heck you want to call it. And in it's John Galt saying that because we choose to live, then everything else follows. Like the fundamental choice we have is to exist or not to exist. If we choose to exist, then we have to subjugate ourselves to reason and evidence and logic. And any person who shirks or abdicates that responsibility that responsibility doesn't go away. Like if I say, I'm not going to work, I'm not going to produce, I'm not going to make the world a better place, that responsibility then gets kind of loaded down onto somebody else. Otherwise, there's not enough stuff going around for everybody to survive, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Check your premises.
Check your premises.
If you don't value life, you can if you don't value life, you can value anything.
I have a super special video for both of you guys to watch.
I'm actually excited about this.
And I think, okay, so it's from Reason TV, and I think you're going to be very surprised by it. That's all I can say. I'll put it to you like this. I'm going to record your reactions while the video plays.
Okay.
And if you want me to pause for any reason, just say pause, and we can talk about whatever's happening, because I think you'll be quite floored by what Reason has put together.
A gun-free America in 5 easy steps.
Oh, yeah.
For a gun-free America, the first thing you'll need is 2/3 of Congress. So elect a minimum of 67 senators and 290 representatives who are on your side. Then have them vote to propose an amendment to the Constitution.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about there, buddy?
I would like to guess the answer.
Go ahead and solve the puzzle. Go right on ahead.
The second thing to 2/3 of Congress is probably a lot of guns.
I bet that's the fifth thing. if all the magic spells don't work, then there's guns.
Then there's guns.
You've seen the video.
Well, I guess you will have to see and find out.
Constitution, which repeals Second Amendment gun rights for all Americans. Then convince the legislators of 38 states to ratify that amendment. Congratulations! The Second Amendment is now history. At this point, you've done absolutely nothing to decrease gun violence. All you've done is remove the barrier for Congress to legally act. You need to enact common sense gun reform. You can try to do what Australia did and ban all guns. That's not at all what they did, but whatever, fuck it. Go big or go home, right? Get that law passed by Congress and signed by the president. Great. The law is passed and guns are now illegal. The only thing left to do is enforce the law. Guns don't just disappear because you passed a law. You need to confiscate over 350 million guns scattered among over 330 million Americans.
America!
Sure, you can try a buyback program like Australia, but like Australia, that will still leave behind anywhere from 60 to 80% of privately owned firearms. The rest of them, you have to take. You'll need the police, the FBI, the ATF, the National Guard, all known for their nuanced approach to potentially dangerous situations, to go door to door through 3.8 million square miles of this country and take them by force from thousands, if not millions, of well-armed individuals, many of whom would rather start a civil war than acquiesce.
It's happened before.
So inevitably, gun violence, which is currently at a historic low, will skyrocket.
Yeah,
but that is how you get a gun-free America.
I posted a meme today on the Not Governor page. I'm running for Not Governor of Texas.
Not governor. Hashtag not gov.
My finance manager gets on to me if I don't say that in every video. Hashtag not governor. I posted a meme. It was like laws are enforced by guns. Yep, it takes guns to enforce laws. Laws are basically pointing states' guns at problems to try and solve them.
Right now.
And the reason why the Second Amendment was created was for when the laws become the problem that need to be solved.
Right now.
And I thought that was a spicy meme.
Spicy.
Yeah, well, I'm curious, coming from Netherlands, Ukraine, what you think of the American gun culture.
I love it.
Go on.
I love that Americans are, what's the word? They value their guns a lot, and I respect that because it shows true freedom. The freedom is not just to own a house or to own a car, but it's to own a gun, to be able to defend yourself. Because your house, defend yourself. Ah, look at that.
He's packing. He's packing.
Every day of my life.
We'll talk about the heat that we get for that a little bit later.
Yep.
Anyway,
go ahead.
Sorry.
Your house defends you against intruders, but once they're inside, you need something else, of course. The government recognizes this because without the guns, they couldn't enforce the gun laws they want to implement.
Sure. Yeah,
And
definitely.
that's, of course, contradiction. And that's what I'm here for. I'm to point out contradictions.
Check your premises, right?
Awesome.
That's kind of
Right.
the continual thing. In fact, there is it just kind of threw me for a loop whenever I saw Reason. I saw Reason as the top, and then it was like 5 steps to getting a gun-free America. And I was like angry watching it. I was like, Reason, what have you done? What have you done? And then I was like, oh, that's what you've done.
It was like cast magical spells, magic spells, use guns to take guns. That's what it was.
So if we just eliminate the 3 redundancies, it's either cast a magical spell or
And use guns to take guns.
Point them
by
guns.
force. Yep.
gotta point them guns, baby.
All the magic spell part is just to justify the actual using of guns.
So, yeah, that kind of threw me for a loop. And then also, Patrick, I know something that had been kind of on your mind lately is like the recent stuff in the gamer community that also involves guns. Tell me about that. Tell me what's going on.
Yes. So there's a game called Call of Duty. It's a shoot 'em up game. There were 2 teams that agreed to have a tournament with I think a $1.50 as the pot for whoever wins. One team lost, as happens, and 2 of the members of that team became very upset with each other, blaming this one guy for the loss of a $1.50. So much so that the guy that was being blamed basically said, what are you going to do about it? The team said, oh, well, we're going to F you up. And he's like, well, here's my address. Come at me, bro. And then this teammate went and contacted this other dude named Swatist or something like that.
Yeah, the Swatist.
So anybody that uses, it's like a new red flag pet peeve of mine. Anybody that uses this autistic, cuck, all these new buzzwords, it's just like, oh, you're a garbage human at this point.
So what you're telling me is you don't know how to formulate an argument. You only know how to form word salads
Insults.
to throw at me.
Yes, memes and insults
I
are
eat
not
word
arguments.
salads for breakfast.
So they contacted this dude on Twitter, who's a grown-ass man, an adult. And
He's 18, right?
Huh?
He's over 18, he says in the
He's
interview,
over 18,
right?
yeah.
Over
He's
18.
yeah.
He doesn't specify the specific age. level.
Yeah, and so they asked this guy to SWAT this team member. SWATting is the process of calling 911 or calling the non-emergency number for cops, whatever, calling the cops and acting out a scenario in which you are in immediate peril of harm. People have been shot in the house. Somebody's about to shoot you. There's a guy about to set the house or you or everything on fire. Just basically like the most dire, insane emergency situations you could possibly think of. You call and you tell the police this is happening. Please come help save me. This is my address. So SWAT teams and hordes of cars show up to the address, and sometimes people get shot because cops are cops. and unfortunately, that's what happened this time. So this Twitter asshole called the cops and told them all this terrible stuff. The cops showed up, except the address that the attacked player gave them was not his actual address. It was that of his neighbor's. So the cops showed up to his neighbor's house. Totally innocent guy, nothing to do with any of this situation. Guy walks out onto his front porch. Cop shoots him dead in front of his niece. His niece basically had to step over his dead body when the cops ordered everyone else out of the house. And
So wrong.
it's enraging. It's enraging at so many levels. It's enraging on the level of dumbass children messing with forces that they don't really even understand. It's enraging at the level of a 911 operator not really realizing what was going on. It's dumbass at the level of the police, who on the mere words spoken into a telephone show up with enough ignorance to an address where an innocent person gets murdered. Like, there is no combination of words anyone should be able to speak into a phone that ends an innocent person's life. There is no justification for that, and the fault is on the police first, because they pulled that trigger. And no one's blaming the cops. Everyone's blaming the SWATist Twitter asshole, the gamer guy that contacted him, and even to a certain extent the victim of the bullying, the guy that caused the team to lose, that gave an address not his own to a certain extent, people are blaming. But not the cops. And so this one guy got an interview with the Twitter guy and said, hey, do you feel responsible?
I have that clip, actually.
Hit it.
Is there any remorse at all? Do you want to apologize to the family? Do you want to apologize to anyone? Or do you really think that this is just not your fault?
Well, I mean, when you want to say your fault, if you want, because you're using the word your, and it's almost, you know, like you're speaking to me. So, if anyone is going to take blame, let's just say that what I'm going to say is I'm not going to take blame by myself, because I wasn't, you know, I didn't just seek to swat some person just to do it. Like I was minding my own business. I was given an address. I was taunted by someone. So that it was like I said, it was really initially three people involved with the incident. There's three parties involved, and they were all used as instruments in what resulted in someone getting.
Humans' capacity to shift blame to outside forces is near infinite. The words he used at the end there were three parties involved that were used as instruments.
As instruments, yeah, as objects.
They were used. They had no agency, they were just used. Huh?
It was what?
It's almost like a script.
Yeah.
Because a normal person doesn't use that kind of language in a normal conversation.
Oh, you think he was reading from a script? You don't think He wasn't saying it spontaneously. He was saying it as if he wrote it down to say it like this over and over again. Because a normal person doesn't use instruments as human beings as a word.
Well, I think we could safely assume that this guy is not a normal person. You may be absolutely right.
Oh yeah,
he did. You know.
I think he just sees it as a game. He's got this Twitter persona. And somebody asked him to do what his persona is known for doing, and he had to do it, so he did it. It's not his fault. He was just tweeting and making phone calls. So the discussion to be had, I think, is what causes you to be culpable in a crime like this? Was it the guy that gave the address? Was it the guy that that tweeted the asshole? Was it the asshole Twitter guy? Was it the cops? Was it the dude that walked out on his porch?
Definitely not him. I think that's a safe bet. Not that guy, right? No force. He's not initiating force on anyone.
I was just listing all the parties involved.
I'm just going to take the easy one and leave the hard ones for you guys to duke it out. Here you go. Have fun, guys.
So, like, I think it's important that we understand the rules for how we assign culpability in a crime situation. You know, and I think the rule is to be party to a crime is to assist in some material way to that crime happening, and everyone that played a part in that crime happening shares culpability. And I'm not saying that it's like 100% pie. We've talked about this multiple times. Culpability or guilt for a crime is not a pie with 100 percentage points that get assigned out to all the people. This guy was 60%, that guy was 20%, that guy was 10%. They can all be 100% guilty of getting this guy murdered. It's just, I think we have to discuss like each person's, what they contributed to the event, right? So the guy that contacted the Twitter and said, hey, can you swat this guy? He was literally asking for a guy to be put in harm's, in a life and death situation. Because make no mistake, anytime the cops are around you, it's a life and death situation these days. I'm smiling, but that's not even funny. Cops are out to protect themselves first over anyone else. Then you have the Twitter guy who literally made the call, put on an act, and caused the cops to show up. Again, I think 100% culpability. Then you have the cops that showed up to a situation based on a phone call. 100% culpability. There is no, if you're a cop and you're shooting innocent people, you are 100% doing your job wrong, 100% of the time. And it is murder. That's the word we have for that. 100% culpability.
I always found it interesting, the language that they decide to use on the articles. Whenever it's like, let me just, remember a headline. It was something to the effect of, could a tweet be responsible for the death of this man? It's like, no, a bullet is responsible for the death of this man. Where'd that bullet come from? It came from a gun. Where was the gun held from? Well, it was held from, the firing stance of a police officer. Why was the police officer there? He was told there by, someone from dispatch who was told. So everyone in that chain is just, they're letting it go right on and.
And I wish I had thought I had to have the statement from the cops. The cops released a statement, and they used that same dismissive, deferring of responsibility language. The information we were given was that blah 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 happened. So when we showed up at the situation, this is the framework we were working under, and when he talked about the cop shooting the guy, he didn't say, "Oh, the cop shot him." He said the officer saw something that startled him, and the officer discharged his weapon, and then later we discovered that so and so was dead. You can go you can listen to this video. It is disgusting how these people protect their own in situations where they have done literal evil. Oh, you found it. Look at that.
Yep, I'm pulling it up right now. So we're on kansas.com/news/local. You know what?
Hit play and let's watch it till it gets boring, and then we can comment.
Okie dokie. Here we go.
Last evening's officer-involved shooting is a tragic and senseless act. The irresponsible actions of a prankster put people and lives at risk.
Not the cop, though.
The incident.
Yeah, the irresponsible actions of a prankster, not the cop.
There was no irresponsible actions on the part of the police.
That's right.
Is a nightmare for everyone involved, including the family and our police department. Due to the actions of a prankster, we have an innocent victim. If the false police call had not been made, we would not have been there. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family as well as with the officer. Okay, I'm going to kind of read a brief statement of how that unfolded last night.
There we go.
Once the officers arrived. Please keep in mind as I read through this, the dispatch traffic that you just heard.
That we're not
this is what the
guilty
officers
in any
are
way.
confronted
Please keep
with
that in
and have
mind.
to deal with, and this is the information in which they are operating. On Thursday, December 28th at approximately 6:18 p.m., officers responded to 1033 West McCormick regarding a shooting call with hostages. The officers arrived at approximately 6:20 and cordoned off the residence. Officers positioned themselves on the east and west side and across the street to the north. The officers were preparing to make contact with a suspect or suspects inside, and they were also preparing for a potential barricaded suspect with hostages. As the incident unfolded, a 28-year-old male opened the front screen door and stood in the doorway or just outside that doorway. Officers gave him several verbal commands to that male to put his hands up and walk towards them. The male complied for a very short time, but then moved his hands back down to his waist area. The officers continued to give him verbal commands to put his hands up, but he lowered his hands again. The male then turned towards the officers on the east side of the residence, lowered his hands to the waistband again, and then suddenly pulled them back up towards those officers to the east.
Because they were yelling at him to raise his hands.
On the north side of the street, he feared that the male had just pulled a weapon from his waistband, retrieved a gun, and was in the process of pointing it at the officers to the east. Fearing for those officers' safety, the officer on the north side fired one round, striking the male. Officers then cleared the residence, believing there was a deceased person inside and potentially some hostages. After clearing the house, they located 4 individuals that reside there. Officers did not locate any deceased person, any injured person, or any hostages. During the investigation, we learned an unknown individual had placed this police false call.
So it's just his language, how he described that situation that pisses me off again at another level. You have this language where officer discharged a weapon, and then we found a dead guy.
The dead guy that they created.
Like if I showed up at your house with lights and sirens, and you walked out on your porch like, what the hell's going on? I yelled at you some commands, which you didn't follow exactly, and then I shot you. And then the cops came and grabbed me and put me in handcuffs and, said, why the hell did you shoot this guy? And I said, I got this phone call that told me some scary things were happening here.
Yeah, there was bad things happening. I heard there was a hostage.
And he didn't follow my instructions.
Yeah, he didn't do what I said.
Would I be free right now? Hell no. I don't have a badge and a blue costume.
You'd be dead right now.
It's absurd.
Additionally,
that's exactly what I was thinking. It's the only difference is the costume and the badge.
Yeah.
And additionally, this is what 2-3 weeks after frickin' Simon Says in a hotel room.
Yep.
where there's a report of a gun. I don't know what the end of the story is, but I just know that I saw
right foot on red, left foot on the same red.
Yeah.
Oh, you fucked up. Boom.
Yeah, if you screw up, you will not survive this encounter.
Yeah.
And that's like, I don't understand how people can say we ought to back this. I don't understand that.
Yeah, so if you look in the comments, the people that are defending the cops are like, "You've never served, you don't know what it's like. Until you've been put in that situation, you can't talk." And I'm like, the cops used to behave differently, so that argument's invalid. 50 years ago, the cops would have waited for the guy to actually have a gun and actually pointed at somebody, and maybe even wait until he shot before they shot back. Now it's, oh, he moved his hand too quickly. Boom, I better shoot him just in case because my life is more important than the citizens that I'm supposed to protect. People's faith in these assholes is evaporating because of this and because of the reaction following where the commanding officers are speak about it as if they could do no wrong and they were just put in this situation by a prankster and oops,
And Yosh, you sounded like you had something you wanted to add.
The feeling I got from that particular video, not the last one, but the one you're talking about now, from a few weeks ago, was that the police officer was giving him orders, hoping he would mess up at some point. That's what I got from it.
Yeah, I mean, they were saying that like they couldn't approach, but that didn't. They said that they were afraid that somebody might be inside the room in the previous story, and I watched the whole 20-minute body cam video. And then immediately after killing the guy, they go into the room. So they had no problem approaching the room then. So I pulled...
There were two officers.
Yeah, go ahead.
The day you see a cop, like a chief of police, come out and say, yeah, my officer murdered this guy. It was wrong. He's in jail right now. He's going to be prosecuted. That's the day when you're going to see people begin to trust police again. Until then, it's going the opposite direction.
I pulled up the comments and the public opinion here. They're using the whole he reached for his waistband argument pretty liberally now. The dude was 50 yards away and the cops were hunkered down behind cars with rifles sighted on him. Disgusting. I'm starting to become disturbers by seemingly innocent kids being gunned down by the police.
There's a mother without a son and a family without a dad right now.
Administrative leave is just the beginning. The officer should be tried and executed for murder. There's a ton of comments on this.
And it's because of a prankster and a cop that discharged a weapon and they'd located a dead body afterwards.
Yeah. And then also, here's the real rub. So husband, I'm assuming that you said niece, right? Is there a family involved there? Do you know if he was with somebody?
His whole family was there, his mom and his niece, and I don't know the specific list.
So he's been completely eliminated from the picture. So that means whatever his earning potential was is now gone, right? So then let's say that the family sues and they get in a judgment for $2.2 million or whatever the guy would have made throughout the rest of his life, plus the earning potential, plus the loss, plus the emotional trauma.
Which they wouldn't win.
Where does that money come from? It comes from us.
Yeah.
Right? So they're going to say, oh, there was a terrible tragedy. We want to make this right. Even though it's not our fault, we're going to make this right by pointing guns at you.
The cops are rarely found to be wrong. And even the rare moments where they are found to be wrong, they don't pay the price.
Yeah. I wish there was some kind of liability where if a cop screws up, it's on him. It's not on the department. And this thing goes for anybody in any job, right? Like if I'm abused by an employee of an airline and they lock me in the bathroom on takeoff and don't let me out or something crazy like that, the airline doesn't get to pay their damages. That employee is going to pay for it, right?
Well, sometimes. I mean, both.
I mean, criminal activities.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking like using force against me, locking me somewhere up.
You could certainly sue and probably win some money from the airline.
You'd probably sue everybody who has any kind of money in that instance. But my point is that person's going to jail.
Oh, yeah.
They f***ed up, you know?
Yeah, and this guy just got paid leave. The usual.
Administrative paid leave.
Vacation for New Year's and,
It's the normal one.
Yep. What's next? We've beaten that one to hell.
I'm just depressed now. What a way to start a new year. Lord.
It's not New Year yet. We haven't started it with it.
That's true. That's why I'm wearing the robe. Trying to keep it cash, trying to be chill, So actually, California, I don't know if you've heard about this, but they have a rule about They're little AR-15 rifles, or as some California legislatures like to call them, the ghost gun, that shoot 3,000 rounds per minute, or whatever that senator said. It was hilarious. But they have this new rule.
Magazine clips per minute.
Per minute, yeah, magazine clips per minute. It was ridiculous. At any rate, well, the free market is starting to route around this legislation. So I kind of wanted to, as a thing to, bring us up, let's just see what the free market's up to.
Today I'm joined by Matthew from Mean Arms, and we're going to go over a new product here. What do we have?
Yeah, we've got the MA loader from meanarms.com.
Okay, what exactly is this?
Well, it actually helps all the guys that are out in California with the new current laws that are being legislated out there.
Interesting. So this product is for the people that are being legislated in California. Let's find out more.
The new laws that went into effect in the state of California is you have to have a fixed magazine depending on the features of the rifle system, right?
Yeah, that is correct. We've basically, they've gotten rid of basically having anything with a stock that you can grip and wrap your thumb around. Mm-hmm. You can no longer have the extended and retractable buttstock. So they're trying to eliminate all these features, which they're basically calling evil features.
They're calling it evil.
The features are evil.
The features are evil.
The features have a moral existence in this world.
The features are evil.
Just like the tweet.
Yeah.
And the gun.
Yeah, the tweet is the problem. The gun is the problem. Yes. It's not the people that are using it. I find that's an interesting abdication of moral responsibility. Shall we continue?
That's like a theme for today's show.
Abdicating moral responsibility?
When you don't pay your taxes, it's not the bank account, it's you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting double standard that you've just pointed out. Whenever we don't pay our taxes, then it's not the bank account that's... I'm just going to say it's the bank account's fault.
Yeah.
The bank account didn't send the money to the right place.
It's that gosh darn checkbook. Didn't write that check this year.
It didn't write the check.
Here, put it in jail.
The check did not discharge. It is a standard policy that we've put ourselves on vacation.
Go put my checkbook in jail.
The pen wasn't working. I wouldn't write.
I was out of ink.
I'm out of ink!
I discharged the pen and then found that no taxes were paid.
Weird. Anyway, so back on the product.
You can actually go and use one of our MA loaders, which makes loading the firearm much better.
Okay,
than actually some of the features that are out there.
Per the state of California, you have to have a fixed magazine, meaning you can't detach it to change when you run out of ammo. So what you would essentially be forced to do is take the rifle apart. So this gives you an alternative where the rifle system doesn't have to be taken apart or disassembled, right?
Exactly, that's correct.
Okay, so what exactly does this do?
This is cool.
So the anti-gunners in Commiefornia thought they had it licked, man. They said, okay, well, if we take these magazines and make it to where you literally can't take the magazine out of the gun.
You gotta disassemble the rifle.
Which makes it no longer a magazine. Yeah, it's like it becomes a permanent fixture in the gun. And limited to, 1 or 3 or 5 rounds or whatever in this unremovable magazine. Then problem solved, because they won't be able to swap magazines and go on mass shooting sprees. We got them licked. So here's what the free market said.
It's beautiful.
Actually put the loader into the firearm. We normally start with the rear, kind of rocking it in and rocking it towards the front.
So you'd rock it in kind of like an AK mag.
Exactly, very similar. So once you lock it in, once you roll it in, you can stick your finger into the thumb, into the thumb ring, and push down.
Reload it.
Load up your magazine.
We're done.
Okay, and so this only holds 10 rounds. Correct?
Only.
Correct, only 10 rounds.
It only holds 10 rounds.
Yeah.
So it's compliant with all of the magic spells that the men with guns.
And it's not a magazine; it's a loader.
It's a loader. Yeah,
We've modified the reagents and the magic spell.
Watch this smooth action, though. It's beautiful.
Okay. So don't think you're going to get any extra ammo out of it, or you're going to be able to jam anything extra in there, right? So a 10-round magazine, it wouldn't be 10 in the mag, 1 in the chamber, correct?
No.
Okay. All right, so rock it in, and just back.
Look at how happy he is. Let's watch that again. In, slide, bump, and fire. That is just satisfying to me.
Laws are really effective, aren't they? I mean, they're 10 out of 10 effective. They always have the intended effect on the world.
That just makes me so happy whenever he smiles whenever he loads it for the first time. He's like, oh yeah, we got it. Here, just watch this moment here. I'll just play it for you. Watch his face.
And just back.
There's a nice little smile. He's like, "Oh yeah, it's game time."
That was the fuck you, California commies.
Come
smile.
and take it.
Yeah.
Come and take it. So I thought it was interesting that every time that there's a distortion created in the market by the men with guns that hold more than 10 rounds per magazine, fun fact, even in Commiefornia, that the market just out-innovates it. Kind of like we were talking about hashtag Monero, real money, the other day, that whenever the government or any person, private or public, tries to manipulate what you can and can't do, you can just work around it, right? You find a little loophole, you exploit that loophole, and bingo bango, you're back to where you started or better.
It's like that Jurassic Park saying. It's like life always finds a way.
Life finds
Humans
a way.
always find a way. Freedom always finds a way.
Freedom finds a way.
Yeah.
Hey, Yost,
F those guys.
okay.
But can you imagine living in Commiefornia?
Wait, no, this is important. Yost, have you seen Jurassic Park?
I have.
Good. Okay, what about living in Commiefornia? I just wanted to make sure that they have American films over there. That's all I'm trying to
What
figure
do you
out.
mean? No, the world has American films.
Good. Hashtag
It's
American
America.
filmmaking.
It's America that doesn't have the world's films.
The world doesn't make films.
That's actually very true. That's actually very true.
Yeah, there's like a whole multiple sets of movie industries out there that we never see anything from.
What's your
here.
favorite non-American film, Yost?
I'm gonna watch it.
I'll have to think about that.
All right, get back to us.
All right.
Can you imagine living in Commiefornia and just living in constant fear of like, what are they going to legislate
next
against me?
What
next?
are they going to legislate
What are they going to
next?
point guns at me today about? Like what we heard recently that it's the Happy Meals are banned in L.A.
Stupid stuff, man.
The list goes on.
What did you just say? What do we need to legislate next?
What will they legislate next?
Yeah, what will they point
That's
guns at me to
actually a
control me?
full-time career for some people, politicians.
Well, yeah, every single one of them. Absolutely.
Right.
We know this. we are initiated here.
And there's a pressure once you become a legislature to put out legislation. Like if you're not putting out legislation,
You can't just sit on your ass all day.
You're not
You're
doing your job.
Right.
Your opponents are going to say that you need to be impeached because you're not doing your job.
Whenever he was in office, he only passed 2 laws. I passed over 100. Vote for me. I'm a dictator you can trust.
Yeah.
So, Yost, now I gotta say, there's a lot more like peaceful parenting in Commiefornia, or at least more gentle parenting versus the South. There's less physical abuse. But Yost, you have some stuff to talk about on the peaceful parenting side, don't you?
Yeah.
Cool.
I would say the lack of abuse is not, or the lack of hitting your kids is not necessarily lack of abuse. There are other forms of abuse, such as neglect. You don't have to hit your kids to abuse them.
Oh, that's true.
The topic I wanted to bring up was that peaceful parents are not snowflakes. I was actually accused myself of this. I'm not a parent myself, not yet, but I was accused of being a peaceful parent advocate as a snowflake. People accurately describe social justice warriors as snowflakes, people who cannot stand any form of criticism or opposition and yell oppression at everything that is in the way of their particular ideology. But the problem with the other side is that they include peaceful parents, people who raise their kids without abuse, to be also snowflakes, because in their mind, not hitting your kids is seen as a lack of parenting or discipline. Their problem is seeing the lack of spanking as a lack of parenting. You have heard it over and over again. If you don't hit your kids, then they will grow up to be entitled, spoiled brats. But this completely ignores the fact that not hitting your kids does not mean you don't teach them anything. As a matter of fact, not hitting your kids does not necessarily mean that you're not abusing them. You can abuse your kids without hitting them. Think about neglect or emotional manipulation or abuse. Spanking is child abuse, but the lack of spanking is not necessarily good or peaceful parenting. Peaceful parenting is not just a lack of abuse, but also a positive environment wherein the child can develop their full potential as an adult, both physically, emotionally, and intellectually.
But
oh, there he is again.
But in the real world, people use force to make you behave how they want. So if you're not hitting your kid and forcing them to behave how you want, then when they get in the real world, they'll be unprepared.
Can I force you to do what I want you to do?
No, that would be wrong. What are you talking about?
So if you do not hold the value of others imposing their views on you, then why do you think it's okay to do that for you?
Well, I don't think it is okay. I don't think it's okay. The Terminator might.
That guy's an asshole. I don't know why he's on the show.
I think I've come up with my favorite non-American movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what do you got?
It's a German movie. It's called Die Welle, or in English, The Wave.
The Wave.
It's about an I think it's a high school teacher in Germany. I think it's a history teacher. He teaches his students about Nazism, how it came to rise, and he wanted to prove that it's very easy to manipulate people into this kind of ideology, and he accidentally indoctrinated his own class into this ideology.
Oh, wow.
And it leads to his whole class actually rising up as Nazis, or some kind of, I don't know the exact story anymore, but it's something about his class rising up as their own group, of their own ideology.
Sorry, Patrick, what? You got something stuck in your throat there, buddy?
It was this Molyneux phlegm that just kind of, I have to Molyneux it out every once in a while.
It'll pass.
It'll pass.
It'll pass. That's glorious.
Yes, so I agree on both points. That is one of the most common argument I've gotten in Texas where spanking is extremely prevalent is you are abusing your kids by not disciplining them with force.
I will also tell you that my favorite non-American law, the fact that in most European countries that spanking is outlawed. You could be facing jail time or separation of your child completely if you hit them or use physical abuse or physical punishment at all in any way.
Wow.
I find it interesting that morality is one way here and one way just over there. I find that very interesting that here it would be immoral, it would be evil for me to stop somebody from hitting a small child or anybody that is a minor, but in your country it would not be acceptable.
Well, laws don't create morality. They're separate. They're just laws.
Are you being Terminator face, man?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, the secret identity's been revealed.
There we go.
Fuck that guy. So it's interesting how like whenever you brought up Molyneux, I was thinking of like symbols and how they can kind of change meanings over time. I actually have something to play. Did you guys have anything else you want to add in on the snowflake snark?
I was just going to shout out. I was just going to shout out to my debunking all the reasons to spank video that we also have on this channel. We can link in the description. We did a talk with
the parenting
junkie.
Yeah,
and we ran down all the common objections on why you should spank your kids or. I thought it was a good video. So
she was just like, ha ha ha, this is why not. It was pretty good.
It was actually a little awkward for her because her channel is usually about like the happy-go-lucky parenting side of things and like disenthrall with my like red hardcore posters in the background.
Look at how hardcore this guy looks.
Was talking about spanking children. It was a fun conversation with somebody that I don't know was totally prepared to come on an ANCAP channel. Go watch it. It's funny.
Very good. So, my friends, I have something to show you. I will give you... we're not going to play the whole video just because it ends... I'll tell you how it ends. We don't need to show it on this channel, honestly. It's not necessary for the discussion. But kind of on the topics of guns... Sorry, Yost, did you have anything else you wanted to say on the peaceful parenting thing right now?
No.
Oh, okay, cool. I just want to make sure I wasn't walking all over that. Now, whenever we were talking about guns, I had forgotten to play this little clip that basically... I hear all the time we need common sense gun control, gun reform, gun laws, all these
common sense gun reform. We need gun control in America, otherwise people are going to die in the streets. Oh my gosh.
I hear about that kind of stuff all the time, and I walk into movie theaters that say, no guns allowed. I walk into schools that say no guns allowed, and hospitals that say no guns allowed. So here's a school where there were no guns allowed.
It's the quiet headquarters of the Bay District Schools in Panama City, Florida. Presiding over the meeting, Superintendent Bill Husflett.
I have a motion.
Bill would yield the floor to a madman.
My motion is that everybody in this room, behind that counter, hit the road.
The gunman is Clay Duke, a 56-year-old ex-con, self-styled revolutionary conspiracy zealot. Duke's symbol is a spray-painted logo from the movie V for Vendetta. And today he's come to do battle, armed with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun.
Semi-automatic.
You may leave, you may leave.
Dean, he told you
Women can leave. 6 men stay. Everyone else leaves.
But board member Ginger Littleton isn't going down without a fight.
Oh, yeah.
The only weapon of any sort was my purse. And so I decided that the best thing I could do would be to sneak up behind him.
No, Ginger, no.
Ginger, no. So whenever I was first watching this, I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to save the day. It's going to be so great. It's going to be a happy story. And then he just like smacks her down. Oh, it's just terrible. Terrible.
Hearts stop. Then the crazed gunman has a moment of mercy.
Ginger, go on.
Duke spares Ginger's life. Now Duke takes the floor and explains the motive behind his madness.
You fired my wife.
Duke claims his wife was laid off from her job as a teacher, and the school board is to blame.
She was like, I got a vagina. I'm just going to be going out this door right now. Did you see that lady?
Yeah, she just kind of snuck out. Our benefits have run out. We're broke. So, you see what I'm saying?
Fired.
And now I'm coming to get revenge. So I saw that, and I just thought, like, man, if only, you know, like, if this happened around Texas, and everybody in that room was carrying, how far would he have gotten before he was put down? I'll tell you how the story ends. Yeah, go ahead, bud.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, of course.
My first observation was this was a gun-free zone.
Yeah, it was.
How did he get the gun in there?
He broke the law.
I just assumed that it never happened. I thought this is a gun-free zone, so it never happens.
You would think that.
Yeah.
You would think
that's strange, isn't it? That's
magic spells don't work. I think that's a recurring theme. And something that I noticed.
I wonder if they ever thought about that when they made that law.
Oh, like if it can be subverted by, I don't know, walking in with a gun?
Yeah.
Probably.
Did they think about it when they made it?
They probably thought about it, but what they probably really thought about was their constituency, but not in the sense of like taking care of people and making sure that people aren't going to die. What they instead thought of was, how many pieces of paper can I push in order to get reelected, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can I prove to people that I'm worth this? I found it interesting that he's just like, Ginger, get out of here. Like, woman, you can leave, right? And
it's actually very interesting that the man knew her by her name. That was very interesting.
Yeah, well, he knew her because his wife worked there, so he knew everybody at the school district. So, Patrick, what's your take on what?
We are anonymous.
I'm not anonymous. I'm Kaysen.
That guy drew one of our symbols on the wall. That was without our authorization.
I don't know what to tell you.
We clearly own that symbol.
You own the symbol?
And you can't change the meaning of symbols.
But there's the symbol right there that doesn't have a copyright or a trademark or any of that. So what do you mean?
Yeah, so you know, the meanings of symbols aren't supposed to change over time. They shouldn't be, you know, co-opted.
Like Molyneux should always stand for anarcho-capitalism.
Yeah.
And the Guy Fawkes mask should always stand for what?
Definitely not a movie. It's an anonymous hacking group. We are hacktivists. We run scripts.
Like swatting scripts?
Oh, yeah. That sounds good.
Wow. And what does the V mean?
Victory.
Wow. I can't even take this guy seriously. Anyway, so I just find it interesting with all this stuff. What are you even? Who are you? Why are you here?
We are anonymous.
What have you done with Patrick, though?
I don't know who you're talking about. He's not one of us.
What you don't know, Yost, is like this is just him on a normal day. He's just walking around.
That's Patrick?
What?
That's Patrick?
No.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Oh, yeah.
I almost thought you said it was Patrick on a normal day.
Oh, I thought the hood was coming down. I was like, we're going to see who Anonymous is. I was very excited for that.
All right. So,
so it is Patrick.
It is Patrick.
Yeah. So
you're like the guy out of Scooby-Doo. It was me, Floppy, Floppa, Flop. You know, whenever he takes off the mask.
Yeah, I'm leaving the lighting for dramatic effect.
Okay, dramatic effect. Go.
No, so I think there was multiple things
I
interesting.
think the light is coming from his hair.
Yeah.
He's an angel or a demon.
Holy.
Anyway, what do you think, Patrick?
I am holy. I think it was interesting how he took time to paint a symbol before he took an action, which speaks to how important symbols are to humans, to the human brain, and it also speaks to the impossibility of controlling a symbol. So the V for Vendetta movie rewrote some of the history of Guy Fawkes and his history, and then that movie brought a lot of really cool anti-government, resist immoral government symbology and thought processes into the world. And then you have a group of hacktivists, people that took one of the symbols of that and sort of changed its meaning again. So like when V for Vendetta came out, I bought a bunch of really cool t-shirts. I have another one that has the big, V for Vendetta symbol on it and all this stuff because I liked that message.
Just so you know, that's 1984.
This is 1984.
Just to be clear. To be clear. Okay, carry on.
But so I got excited because we had new symbols to embody sentiments that we had.
You can't kill an idea, Mr. Creedy.
And then like 9 months in, Anonymous started making videos with the mask, and then it completely perverted it. And
use Microsoft Bob's speech or text to speech.
I've got this useless mask now that I can't use for anything.
Well, now you can use it for this. So Yos, have you seen V for Vendetta?
Mm-hmm.
And what was your take on it? What do you think of it?
I think I've seen it before. I called myself an anarchist, actually.
Oh. Go on.
I think it influenced me in some way. I just didn't like the violence so much. The blowing up in the end.
Oh yeah.
It was a beautiful spectacle, but I didn't like the violence so much. And the whole train and the blowing up parts. But the message was really good.
But you're an anarchist and you're not for the violence and the blowing up of stuff?
No.
This isn't what people pay to see.
I mean, you got to show us your collection of Molotov cocktails now.
Yeah, that's how we celebrate New Year's Eve, man. It's just like watch the news.
So anyway, the symbology thing was the thing my brain took away from watching that was before he did any of that stuff, which was immoral and it's like he took that anti-government sentiment from the movie and it's like, okay, I'm going to use it in this way. And so as to sort of add meaning to what I'm doing, I'm going to paint this giant V on the wall. And then, of course, he goes about doing anti-government things.
Oh, I found it interesting that they threw a whole bunch of adjectives. It's like, he's a conspiracy theorist, zealot, madman. Like, they just throw as many things as possible. It's just like, no, he's just trying to get money, and he's trying to kill people.
Well, then you also have the thing where he's like, the women may leave, 6 men will stay. Like, the women get a complete pass, and like one of them even kind of stood up to him a little bit with her purse, and then another one was just like, "Hey, I'm a woman. I'm gonna go now." And he's like, "Yeah, you can go. You can go.
Get out of here,
He
Ginger."
said I could go. I'm gonna go.
Where are the feminists saying that is wrong? He should have made those women stay too. We want equality. Where's the equality around here? I didn't hear anything. I haven't heard anything from the feminists on this one.
I have not heard anything. That's a good point. I have not thought about that at all. If you have an outie and not an innie, you staying.
You see a feminist on the Titanic, she's going to be on the life raft with all the other women getting off first. That's all I'm saying.
I won't see anyone on the Titanic because I'm a thinker. I won't go on it. Any ship named the Titanic, I'm not getting on.
Well, you know what I meant.
Oh, I know what you meant.
I think we know what the V stands for on the wall.
What does it stand for?
I'm not going to say it. I think you know
I just got it.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not going to say it. It's good. I'm not going to say it.
I'm just going to turn red. Okay,
I saw Kason's face. Kason got it right away. And I just want to say for...
Yeah.
People with this are safe in this room. There we go.
Go ahead,
I just want to say from my non-American perspective.
Yeah.
Like I said before, if it's a gun-free zone, it doesn't mean that guns are not going to be there, because this proves that guns can be there. But if it wasn't a gun-free zone, she wouldn't be hitting him with a purse. She would be holding a gun to defend other people. And I think that's the message we should get from this.
And just so you know, there ended up being a gun in the room, another gun in the room. There was a security guard who happened to walk across and come in, and he saves the day. And they're like, well, clearly this security guard is going above and beyond. And it's like, yes, the security guard did his job. Good on him. No complaints. The challenge, I think, is that every person in that room has shirked their personal responsibility of self-defense. Like they've abdicated that. Kind of like the Galt thing earlier, where it's like, I am not going to protect myself. I'm going to put that onto others whenever I go to work or whatever, you know? Whenever it comes to symbolism, did anybody else have anything you guys wanted to say on this?
Yeah, it was that...
yeah, bring it on.
It was the not governor message I put out after the Texas mass shooting that we had. It was, hey, look, and I really didn't take time to really talk crap about all the other places where you can't do this, but I kind of mentioned it in the video a little bit. I'm like, you know, those other places, you know, they have to be proud of the fact that they don't run when terrorist attacks happen. Like New York, they're very proud that New Yorkers don't run when people start shooting. I'm like, okay, why not defend yourself instead of being proud of not running, which is what Texans do. And that's why I was so proud of the area. I mean, the area I live in is full of people that at least have a sense of, I'm going to do it myself. I don't need government. I don't need somebody else to do it for me. And anyway, that was the point that you were making, is the point of that video. If you haven't seen my response video after that shooting happened, I basically complimented Texans, on being the people that defend themselves instead of being proud of not running. So go check out that video if you haven't seen it.
And whenever it comes to like the whole symbolism thing, like the V, there are few symbols in America. Watch this transition. It's pretty smooth. There are a few symbols of...
It's not smooth if you call it out.
That was the idea. But now that you've called out the call out, now it's like incepted.
Okay.
So anyway, like I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by Patrick, there are few symbols in America that quite symbolize America, like, I don't know, somebody else pumping your gas for your car?
What?
Has anybody had their car, like the gas for the car, been pumped for them? Has that ever happened?
No, no one's ever pumped my gas.
What about you, Yos? Do you have that in your foreigner land?
You foreigner?
You foreigner.
We have self-pumping gas stations.
Self-pumping? Oh, do it yourself. I thought you meant like it goes.
That would be cool.
I was like, wow.
I mean, the place where you don't go in to pay for it, you can pay with a card.
No, does a person pump it for you? Like, does a person come out and
there's like an attendant who comes out and they chat you up and they're like, hey, how you doing today? I'm going to plug this into your card. Make sure that you have all the gas to go down the road.
Well, where's the state where that's required or was required?
Oregon.
So it was literally illegal to pump your own gas? Is that correct?
Yeah. It was illegal to pump your own gas in Oregon.
Why?
I don't know. I'm not a madman. I can't tell you the thinking of a madman.
Okay. So the story was...
So the story goes something like this, okay? Pump your own gas. Starting January 1st, Oregonians can begin pumping their own gas. Begin pumping. Not like forced.
Can begin.
Not forced.
They can begin.
They can begin. Not that they're forced to have self-serve, but just... the option to not employ...
If it pleases the crowd, may I pump my own gasoline?
Please. So, starting January 1st, Oregonians can begin pumping their own gas in rural counties. Do you think Oregon should allow self-serve gas stations statewide?
So earlier I was talking crap about people that use the word cuck. But like these people have literally been cucked by their own government. Like,
so
you can pump your own gas now. Thank you, sir.
So it's a vote. It's a thumbs up for a yes and an angry face for a no. And the current tally as of right now, we got to pull this up. We got to see what's going on.
What's the objections to it?
Okay, there's 430 angry faces and there's 1.5 thousand likes.
All right.
So that's about 25%.
The 25% are dissenting, and then there's other people who are haha reacting, which I guess you just call them non-voters, I guess, in this instance. So the comments on this are completely savage. Like, this is literally, man, it's like those people in infomercials who can't perform menial tasks. Do you have trouble pumping your own gas? Guy grabs pump handle and sprays himself
gas all
in
over
face.
himself.
Or it makes me think of Zoolander, gasoline fight, that sort of thing. And like the comments are just so savage. It's official. Oregon is full of mentally defective, full-grown children, incapable of the most mundane of adult tasks. And then there's responses. Sounds like you're a redneck Bible thumper.
Oh, yeah.
More like an agnostic electrical distribution designer who can pump gas. It is so savage. And then there's this one guy, Mike Perone, and he says, I've lived in this state all my life, and I refuse to pump my own gas. I had to do it once in California while visiting my brother and almost died doing it.
So he's going to pull up to the gas station and wait angrily until gas arrives in his tank.
You bring it to me. I'm an old man.
I almost died last time.
This is a service only qualified people should perform. I will literally park at the pump and wait until someone pumps my gas. I can't even.
I want video of him doing that.
And I can just imagine him standing there with that angry face, the angry Facebook icon.
Now, this is the real...
Facebooking about it, taking a selfie. Gas isn't coming to me.
Gas is not... I can't even right now. I literally can't even drive. I can't even get gas in my fucking car.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a grown-ass man, and I am upset.
So I actually saved this... yeah?
What if we had a gas reloader function, just like the gun we saw before?
Where you stick your thumb into it? Well, what we do is in America, we wrap a couple fingers around it, and then we pull the trigger. That's a trigger that Oregonians are okay with, I guess. And then that puts the gas into
I'm pretty sure the moment you called that device a trigger, they would ban it.
It makes me think of the meme that's floating around of California, and it says California bans itself because it looks like a high-capacity magazine.
The only thing allowed to be triggered in Oregon is the people.
I can't even. So I saved, because that's all the real-time chat. That's just the Facebook feed. So I saved one because I wasn't sure if the gold would continue. So, Sandy Franklin writes, I don't even know how to pump gas, and I am 62, native Oregonian. I say, no thanks, I don't want to smell like gasoline. And somebody says, you've never traveled outside of Oregon? And somebody else says, you realize 48 other states pump their own gas? And somebody else still says, really proud of your ignorance, huh? And then Sandy responds, not pumping gas does not make one ignorant. Making fun of people does, however.
Not knowing how to pump gas does make one ignorant.
And then, as the coup de grace, she says, Andrew Crow, that's why God made husbands.
Oh.
To pump the gas for you.
Yeah, so making fun of these people aside, this is a microcosm of everything everyone asks the government to fix for them.
I would like you to ban people from being able to serve gasoline at the stations. There are literally people inside of this thread that are supporting, repealing this new law or putting the old law back in place, whatever magical spell you call that. And they're like, we need to keep jobs in Oregon. This is going to eliminate so many Oregon jobs. I can't even.
Well, just like with everything else, once the government has been doing it, people can't imagine a situation without it.
So if you would like to participate in the madness, go to tinyurl.com/gassyidiots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, go to tinyurl.com/gassyidiots, okay? And that will let you go and comment on this beautiful thread. Ta-da! You too can comment on this. tinyurl.com/gassyidiots, everybody. You know what? It's kind of the end of the year.
Oh, yeah.
I think we should run around a question around the table. We're going to get to learn a lot about you through this one question. We'll start with Patrick. So, Patrick, what's the biggest thing you've learned through this year, or one of the big things that you've learned this year?
How to pump your own gas.
That's what a lot of Oregonians are going to be learning.
2017 has been the year of growing new relationships with good people. And I had no idea. So in the beginning, Yo started talking about pruning your relationships by ethics and not being afraid to cut people off that don't meet your standards or that aren't ethical people. And I put that into effect a couple years ago. I started doing that. I started being honest with how I was feeling. I started being honest with my ethics and what I know to be right and what I know to be evil. And that has had a drastic effect on most of the connections to people in my life. I would say that most connections fade away, but the ones that remain and the new ones that I've grown after starting doing that have completely changed how I view the world. Like, I am surrounded by some of the best people you could possibly imagine being surrounded by. And it brings me a lot of happiness. And so don't be afraid to take Yos's advice from the beginning of the show. This would be the lesson I learned. Like, you don't have to be an asshole about it, but stand up for what you know to be right, what you know to be good, and what you know to be evil. Make sure that people are aware of what they're doing in your life, and sort of let the chips fall where they may. Just you be a good person, and you hold to ethics, and you have an expectation for everyone that's going to be near you to also hold to ethics. And you know, a couple years later, you'll be in an amazing place. That's my lesson.
I think you could say, stick to your guns, and everything will be all right.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, I would add that it's just like Jordan Peterson says, you have to stop lying to yourself first. That's how you start. Stop saying things that you know aren't true.
Do you have an example?
Oh, now you're going to have to confess to be a liar.
People are willing to change their minds. According to... people are willing to change their minds if you have a good argument. It's not true.
It's not true?
It's not true at all. I see him like typing out these really eloquent responses on what's that website you always post that like the responses come in more and more. Imgur?
Imgur.
I see your screenshots of that and I'm like, man, that's a really nice response. Like I'd be convinced of that. And then the person's like, troll, you know nothing. Yeah. It's like, well, that's not an argument. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Trying to have a discussion here.
Jos van Twatwaffle.
Yeah, right.
Was I think what you got called recently?
Was today actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez. So for me, the biggest takeaway that I'm getting from all of 2017 is how important it is to have like a core group of like rationally minded people to hang out with. Mm-hmm. Like so Patrick, you know, let's just plug the meetup group. He helps run this meetup group. It's the second largest anarchist meetup, volunteerist meetup in the world, in Dallas. It's where I met him and have met many other really amazing people, probably some of the sharpest people that I know. And it's just such a refreshing thing to go out every week or every other week and just like hang out and you can sit back and listen to a conversation about ethics and then something about, you know, a different, you know, strain of it. And it's just amazing to have that kind of conversation going on rather than just like, hey, yeah, did you know it's cold outside today? It's like 20 degrees. Yeah. Imagine that weather. It changes, you know?
Yeah.
So that was kind of my biggest thing, just to surround oneself with rationally minded people because it is the best barrier from insanity that I can think of.
It's been, the meetup group has become so successful in the past year and a half that I almost want to see how we can replicate it in a remote form. Like start having, and even leave the name the same, Voluntarists of Dallas, and just have VOD meetings.
Chicago division.
That anybody can join via video or something. You know, it's just, once you find, it's like finding your tribe. That's what it feels like. You find a group of people that you know won't attack you. and you know, that sounds extreme, but like the average American citizen advocates 17 different ways that you should be attacked if you don't behave in the way they want you to. Thanks for watching today. It has been a really cool talk. Thanks for joining us, Jos. I look forward to more in the future. Please check out our Patreon, our Facebook, our YouTube. I'm running for not governor of Texas, a legitimate campaign to become the governor of Texas and immediately dissolve
you gotta dance.
The entire Texan government and block all federal control over the lives of the people living here. Thanks for watching.